Welcome to this gentle exploration of perhaps the most beautiful and mysterious orchestra that has ever existed. One that plays continuously within you, conducting a symphony so intricate and perfect that even the greatest composers could only dream of such harmony. Tonight, we drift into the quiet depths of your nervous system, that invisible maestro that has been orchestrating every moment of your existence since before you took your first breath. Picture, if you will, the soft rhythm of your heartbeat as you settle into this moment. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest, the subtle awareness of these words flowing through your consciousness. None of this happens by accident. There is something almost musical about the way your nervous system coordinates these countless processes, a biological symphony playing in the key of life itself. In the quiet depths of your body, 86 billion neurons are engaged in an endless conversation, their electrical whispers creating the very essence of who you are. They speak in the language of ions and impulses, crafting melodies of thought, harmonies of emotion, and rhythms of sensation that combine to create the magnificent composition of your conscious experience. This symphony began long before you were aware of it. Even now, as you read these words, your nervous system is conducting thousands of processes with the precision of a master composer. It orchestrates the delicate balance of chemicals in your bloodstream, coordinates the timing of your breath with the needs of your cells, and weaves together sensory information from your environment into a coherent experience of reality. There is something profoundly calming about recognizing that within each of us exists this ancient, wise conductor, one that has been refined across millions of years of evolution, each generation adding new notes to its repertoire. Your nervous system carries within it the accumulated wisdom of countless ancestors who survived, who thrived, who passed down this extraordinary biological inheritance. The beauty lies not just in its complexity, but in its gentle reliability. While you sleep, it continues its work, adjusting your body temperature, consolidating memories, and preparing you for the dreams that will soon unfold. When you wake, it seamlessly transitions between the different movements of your daily symphony, the allegro of morning alertness, the andante of afternoon contemplation, the lento of evening rest, and perhaps the most beautiful aspect is how effortlessly it connects you to the world around you. Every sunset you've ever admired, every piece of music that has moved you, every gentle touch that has comforted you, all of these experiences were made possible by this silent symphony within, translating the external world into the internal language of neural poetry. As we begin this journey together, take a moment to appreciate this quiet miracle. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, on this small blue planet, evolution has crafted something extraordinary, a biological system capable of not only sustaining life, but of experiencing wonder, creating beauty, and contemplating its own existence. Your nervous system is both the instrument and the musician, both the theater and the performance, both the question and, perhaps, the answer. In the gentle twilight between waking and sleeping, when thoughts drift like clouds across the sky of consciousness, it becomes easier to imagine what a neuron might be, not just as a cell, but as a living letter in the greatest story ever written, the story of you. There is something almost magical about these cellular storytellers. Each neuron is a universe unto itself, a microscopic marvel that has been shaped by eons of evolutionary poetry. If you could shrink down and float beside one, you would see a structure that resembles both a tree and a river system, branches reaching out in all directions, seeking connections, yearning to communicate. Picture, if you will, a single neuron resting in the quiet sanctuary of your brain. Its cell body, the soma, sits like a wise sage at the center of an ancient tree, while its dendrites stretch outward like delicate branches, listening for whispers from neighboring neurons. And from this cellular tree extends a single, elegant pathway, the axon, sometimes as short as a whisper, sometimes as long as the distance from your spine to your toe, carrying messages across the vast territories of your body. But what messages do these neurons carry? They speak in the language of electricity, but it is an electricity unlike any other. This is not the harsh, sudden lightning of a storm, but something far more gentle and purposeful, like the soft glow of fireflies on a summer evening, or the rhythmic pulse of a distant lighthouse guiding ships through the night. When a neuron decides to speak, it experiences what scientists have named, with beautiful accuracy, an action potential, the potential for action, for change, for communication. This electrical whisper begins at the neuron's cell body and travels along its axon like a message in a bottle floating down a stream, carrying its cargo of information to distant shores. The journey of this electrical whisper is a story of transformation. As it travels, the neuron's membrane experiences a brief but profound change. Sodium and potassium ions dance across its surface in a carefully choreographed exchange, creating a wave of electrical activity that flows like a gentle tide along the length of the cell. This is not a violent process, but something as natural and rhythmic as breathing, as organic as the circulation of sap through a tree. Yet this is only half of the conversation. The true poetry begins when this electrical whisper reaches the end of its journey, at the delicate space between neurons that scientists call the synapse, a word that comes from the Greek meaning to clasp together or to join. Here, in gaps so small that thousands could fit across the width of a human hair, the electrical message transforms into something even more beautiful, a chemical song. In these synaptic spaces, floating like stardust between neurons, are molecules called neurotransmitters. Dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, GABA, each one a different note in the brain's chemical symphony. When the electrical whisper arrives, it triggers the release of these molecular messengers, which drift across the synaptic gap like seeds on the wind, some finding their way to receptors on the receiving neuron, others floating away to be recycled in the endless conversation of consciousness. This is how thoughts are born, how memories are made, how emotions color your experience of the world. Each moment of your life, this very instant as you process these words, is created by billions of these whispered conversations, neurons calling out to one another in a language older than words, more fundamental than any human communication. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is that these neurons learn, they adapt, they remember. The conversations that happen most frequently become stronger, the pathways more well-worn, like favorite paths through a garden that become more defined with each passing. This is the physical basis of learning, of habit, of love, patterns of neural conversation that become the neural signatures of everything that makes you uniquely you. There is something both humbling and beautiful about tracing the long, winding path of human curiosity as it slowly illuminated the mysteries of the nervous system. Like ancient stargazers mapping the constellations, generations of thinkers and healers have gazed inward, seeking to understand the source of consciousness, emotion, and thought. In the golden light of ancient Greece, 25 centuries ago, a philosopher named Alcmaeon of Croton made an observation that would echo through the ages. In the quiet of his study, he proposed something revolutionary: that the brain, not the heart, was the seat of consciousness. This gentle insight, spoken into the Mediterranean twilight, challenged the prevailing wisdom of his time, when most believed that thoughts and feelings originated in the heart's rhythmic chambers. Aristotle, that great contemplator of nature's patterns, disagreed with beautiful stubbornness. He observed the warmth of blood and concluded that the heart must be the source of life's vital essence, relegating the brain to a mere cooling system, like a radiator for the soul's passionate fires. For nearly 2,000 years, this poetic but incorrect notion would influence how humans understood themselves. As centuries flowed like a gentle river, other curious minds added their observations to this growing tapestry of understanding. Galen of Pergamon, physician to gladiators and emperors, made the first careful explorations of the nervous system's anatomy. In the flickering candlelight of Roman surgical chambers, he discovered that cutting certain nerves would cause specific losses of movement or sensation, the first glimpse into the nervous system's careful organization. But perhaps the most magical moment in this long journey came during the twilight hours of the 18th century in the quiet laboratory of Luigi Galvani. Picture this gentle Italian physician working late into the night when he made a discovery that would forever change how we understand the electrical nature of life itself. It was during a thunderstorm that Galvani first noticed something extraordinary. He had been dissecting a frog, its legs hanging from brass hooks, when lightning illuminated the sky. In that moment of electrical fury, the frog's legs twitched and danced as if animated by some invisible force. Night after night, Galvani returned to his laboratory, experimenting with different metals, different conditions, slowly realizing that he had discovered something profound: animal electricity. In those quiet hours, as Galvani watched dead tissue respond to electrical stimulation, he was witnessing the very language of the nervous system, those electrical whispers that neurons use to communicate. He called this phenomenon animal electricity, and in doing so, opened the door to understanding that our thoughts, our movements, our very consciousness are expressions of electrical activity flowing through biological circuits. This discovery rippled outward like stones thrown into still water. It inspired Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, as she imagined what might happen if this mysterious force could animate lifeless matter. It motivated Alessandro Volta to create the first battery, trying to replicate the electrical phenomena Galvani had observed in living tissue, and it set the stage for centuries of investigation into the electrical nature of neural communication. Meanwhile, across the span of continents and centuries, other pieces of the puzzle were quietly falling into place. In the 17th century, René Descartes had proposed that the nervous system worked like a hydraulic system, with animal spirits flowing through hollow nerves. Though incorrect in mechanism, his idea captured something beautiful about the nervous system's role in connecting mind and body. The 19th century brought new tools and new insights. Scientists learned to stain nervous tissue with silver and other chemicals, revealing the intricate branching patterns of neurons for the first time. Santiago Ramón y Cajal, often called the father of modern neuroscience, spent countless hours peering through his microscope, carefully drawing the neurons he observed, creating art that was also science, beauty that was also truth. Yet this is only the beginning of the story. As we moved into the modern era, each generation of scientists added new chapters to our understanding, like astronomers gradually mapping more distant galaxies, the discovery of neurotransmitters, the development of brain imaging, the revelation of neuroplasticity. Each insight, a new verse in humanity's ongoing song of self-discovery. There is something profoundly calming about recognizing that we stand at the culmination of this long journey of understanding, inheritors of millennia of human curiosity and dedication. The knowledge we possess today about the nervous system is the result of countless quiet hours of observation, experimentation, and wonder, a gift passed down through generations of minds that refused to stop asking questions about the nature of consciousness itself. As we drift deeper into this gentle exploration, imagine your body as a vast kingdom, peaceful and well-ordered, where three wise rulers work in perfect harmony to maintain the delicate balance of life. This is not a realm of conflict or competition, but one of cooperation so profound that the boundaries between these three kingdoms often blur, like watercolors in the rain. The first kingdom is perhaps the most familiar to our conscious minds, the central nervous system, consisting of the brain and spinal cord, sitting like a wise counsel at the heart of the realm. Picture, if you will, your brain as an ancient library and command center combined, where 86 billion neurons store memories, process sensations, and make the countless decisions that guide your life. This is where your consciousness resides, where dreams are woven, where the poetry of thought transforms electrical impulses into the rich tapestry of human experience. Nestled at the base of your skull, your brain floats gently in cerebrospinal fluid, protected like a precious jewel in the vault of your cranium. Its various regions work together like different departments in this vast administrative center. The frontal cortex, planning and reasoning; the temporal lobes storing memories; the occipital cortex painting the visual world in your mind's eye; the cerebellum coordinating your movements with the precision of a master choreographer. Connected to this command center runs the spinal cord, like a great highway of information, stretching from the base of your brain to the small of your back. This elegant column of neural tissue, no wider than your thumb, carries millions of messages every second. Sensory information flowing upward to the brain, motor commands flowing downward to the body, all organized with an efficiency that would make any engineer weep with admiration. The second kingdom extends throughout your body like a vast network of rivers and streams. The peripheral nervous system. These are the nerves that branch out from your brain and spinal cord, reaching into every corner of your physical being. They carry the songs of sensation, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the taste of morning coffee, the sound of rain against the window, transforming the physical world into electrical poetry that your brain can understand. But the peripheral nervous system is not merely a passive messenger service. It also carries the commands of movement from your brain to your muscles, orchestrating the complex dance of walking, the delicate precision of writing, the unconscious adjustments that keep you balanced and coordinated. Every gesture you make, every step you take, is the result of this constant conversation between the central command and the peripheral territories. Yet there is something almost mystical about the third kingdom, the autonomic nervous system. This wise and ancient ruler works tirelessly behind the scenes, managing the countless processes that keep you alive without your conscious awareness or effort. It is divided into two complementary forces, the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, like two gentle dancers eternally circling each other in a cosmic waltz. The sympathetic system is your body's poet of arousal and action. When life demands energy and alertness, whether you're climbing a mountain, giving a presentation, or simply encountering something new and exciting, this system springs into gentle action. It quickens your heart rate, heightens your awareness, and mobilizes your body's resources, preparing you to meet life's challenges with vigor and clarity. In beautiful contrast, the parasympathetic system is your body's master of rest and restoration. This is the kingdom's wise counselor, of calm, active, during quiet moments of peace and recovery. It slows your heart rate, stimulates digestion, and promotes the deep cellular repair that happens during rest and sleep. This system whispers to your body that it is safe to relax, to heal, to restore itself for tomorrow's adventures. What makes this biological trinity so remarkable is not just how each kingdom functions independently, but how seamlessly they integrate their activities. Consider the simple act of reaching for a glass of water. Your central nervous system perceives thirst and plans the movement. Your peripheral nervous system carries sensory information about the glass's location and weight, while simultaneously coordinating the precise muscle contractions needed to grasp it. Meanwhile, your autonomic nervous system adjusts your heart rate and blood pressure to support the movement, all without a single conscious thought from you. This integration becomes even more beautiful when we consider how these systems adapt and respond to the rhythms of life. During the day, your sympathetic system gently supports your active engagement with the world, while at night, your parasympathetic system guides you into the restorative embrace of sleep. Your peripheral nerves continuously sample your environment, providing the constant stream of information that allows your central nervous system to navigate the world with grace and purpose. And in this dance of three kingdoms, we find one of nature's most profound lessons about harmony and cooperation. There is no hierarchy here, no ruler more important than the others. Instead, like instruments in an orchestra, each system contributes its unique voice to the larger symphony of your existence, creating something far more beautiful and complex than any single component could achieve alone. As you drift through these quiet moments of learning, take a moment to appreciate this gentle miracle of biological cooperation happening within you right now, orchestrating the simple pleasure of understanding, the peaceful rhythm of breathing, and the countless other processes that make this moment of consciousness possible. In the quiet depths of neural space, where thoughts are born and consciousness unfolds, there exists a dance so intimate and precise that it makes the movement of planets around stars seem clumsy by comparison. This is the synaptic dance, the moment when one neuron reaches across the microscopic void to whisper its secrets to another, transforming electrical impulses into the chemical poetry that creates every thought, every emotion, every sensation you've ever experienced. Picture, if you will, the end of a neural journey. An electrical whisper has traveled the length of an axon, that elegant highway of communication, and now arrives at its destination, the synaptic terminal. Here, at the edge of one neuron's world, begins one of biology's most beautiful choreographies. The arriving electrical signal triggers something magnificent. Tiny vesicles, like miniature balloons filled with molecular messengers, float toward the cell membrane with purpose and grace. These vesicles contain neurotransmitters: dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, GABA, each one a different word in the brain's chemical vocabulary, each carrying its own emotional color and functional meaning. When the electrical signal arrives, it causes calcium channels to open like gates in an ancient city, and calcium ions flow in like a gentle tide, triggering the vesicles to merge with the membrane and release their precious cargo into the synaptic cleft. There is something almost musical about this release. The neurotransmitters don't simply spill out randomly, but are expelled in precise quantities at exactly the right moment, creating a chemical cloud that drifts across the synaptic gap like morning mist across a lake. This gap, though unimaginably small, about 20 nanometers wide, so tiny that millions could fit across the width of a single hair, represents one of the most important spaces in the universe. For it is here that the electrical language of one neuron transforms into the chemical language that another neuron can understand. On the receiving side of this molecular conversation, the postsynaptic neuron waits with exquisite sensitivity. Its membrane is dotted with receptors, like locks waiting for the right chemical keys. When the neurotransmitter molecules drift across the synaptic space and find their matching receptors, they bind with the specificity of lovers, recognizing each other across a crowded room. This binding triggers a cascade of changes in the receiving neuron. Ion channels open or close, the electrical potential shifts, and the message is passed along. But the beauty of this system lies not just in its precision, but in its flexibility. The strength of synaptic connections can change, growing stronger with repeated use, or weakening when neglected. This is the physical foundation of learning and memory. Pathways that fire together become more efficient, while unused connections gradually fade like footprints on a beach, slowly erased by the tide. Consider for a moment the staggering scale of this activity. In your brain right now, as you process these words, and perhaps form your own thoughts in response, trillions of these synaptic conversations are taking place every second. Each thought you think, each memory you recall, each emotion you feel, emerges from this vast chorus of chemical whispers between neurons. The different neurotransmitters create different colors in this neural painting. Dopamine carries messages of reward and motivation, painting experiences with the hues of pleasure and desire. Serotonin whispers of mood and well-being, its presence creating the warm tones of contentment and happiness. GABA speaks in calming voices, its inhibitory messages creating the peaceful spaces between thoughts, the quiet pauses that prevent neural activity from becoming chaotic noise. Acetylcholine orchestrates attention and learning, its release sharpening focus and enhancing the formation of new memories. Norepinephrine adds the colors of alertness and arousal, preparing the brain for action and heightening awareness. Each of these molecular messengers contributes its unique voice to the symphony of consciousness, their combined effects creating the rich, nuanced experience of being alive and aware. Yet, this dance is not without its vulnerabilities. Many neurological and psychiatric conditions arise from disruptions in synaptic communication, too much of certain neurotransmitters, too little of others, or problems with the receptors that receive these chemical messages. Understanding this delicate balance has allowed us to develop treatments that can help restore harmony to disrupted neural conversations, bringing relief to minds caught in patterns of suffering. As we drift deeper into contemplation of this synaptic ballet, we begin to appreciate one of the most profound truths about consciousness: that our thoughts, emotions, and perceptions are not ethereal or mystical phenomena, but rather the emergent properties of countless molecular conversations happening in the warm, dark sanctuary of our brains. Every sunset that has ever moved you, every melody that has brought you joy, every moment of love or understanding you've experienced, all of these arose from the gentle dance of chemicals across synaptic spaces, transforming the physical into the experiential, the molecular into the meaningful. There is something both humbling and beautiful about the human quest to understand the organ that makes understanding itself possible. Like explorers mapping distant continents, generations of scientists have ventured into the mysterious landscape of the brain, each discovery revealing new territories of wonder, while simultaneously showing how much more remains unknown. In the gentle candlelight of ancient dissection chambers, the first anatomists gazed upon the brain with a mixture of reverence and bewilderment. To their eyes, this 3-pound universe of tissue appeared as a uniform, grayish mass, soft, convoluted, seemingly without obvious organization or structure. They could see its basic divisions: the large cerebrum, the smaller cerebellum, nestled beneath, the brainstem connecting to the spinal cord. But the deeper mysteries remained hidden, like a book written in an unknown language. The 19th century brought the first great revolution in brain mapping, though it began with what might seem like a tragic accident. A young railroad worker named Phineas Gage was preparing explosive charges when an iron rod shot through his skull, damaging his frontal lobe. Remarkably, Gage survived, but his personality changed dramatically, from a responsible, mild-mannered worker to someone impulsive and unpredictable. This case, studied with compassionate scientific curiosity, provided the first clear evidence that different brain regions might be responsible for different aspects of human behavior and personality. Around the same time, in the quiet laboratories of Europe, scientists were developing new techniques to peer into the brain's hidden architecture. Silver staining methods, developed by Camilo Golgi and perfected by Santiago Ramon y Cajal, revealed for the first time the intricate branching patterns of individual neurons. Under the microscope, these cellular trees appeared like frost on a window, delicate and beautiful, their connections tracing pathways of communication that had never before been visible to human eyes. Cajal, working alone in his modest laboratory, spent countless hours drawing what he observed, creating scientific illustrations that were also works of art. His careful observations led him to propose what became known as the neuron doctrine, the revolutionary idea that the brain was not a continuous mesh of tissue, but rather a network of individual cells communicating across tiny gaps. This insight, met with skepticism at first, would eventually transform our understanding of neural function. The early 20th century brought new tools for exploring the living brain. Surgeons discovered that they could stimulate different brain regions with electrical probes while patients were awake and conscious, mapping the functions of different areas by observing the responses. When they touched certain spots on the motor cortex, specific muscles would contract. Stimulation of other regions would evoke memories, sensations, or even complex emotions. Wilder Penfield, a gentle neurosurgeon working in Montreal, used these techniques to create some of the first detailed maps of brain function. His patients, lying conscious on the operating table, became collaborative explorers of their own consciousness, reporting what they experienced as different brain regions were stimulated. From these careful observations emerged the famous motor homunculus and sensory homunculus, distorted maps of the human body represented in the brain with disproportionately large areas devoted to sensitive and dexterous parts like the hands and face. Yet this is only the beginning of the story. The latter half of the 20th century brought technologies that seemed like science fiction made real. Computerized tomography, CT, scans allowed doctors to peer through the skull and see the brain's structure in living patients. Magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, provided even clearer pictures, revealing soft tissue details with stunning clarity. But perhaps the most magical development was the ability to watch the brain in action. Positron emission tomography, PET, scans could show which brain regions were most active during different tasks, revealing the neural correlates of thought, emotion, and perception. Functional MRI took this even further, allowing researchers to see changes in brain activity in real time, watching as different regions lit up like constellations when people performed various mental tasks. These modern brain imaging techniques have revealed landscapes of activity that are breathtakingly beautiful when visualized. The brain at work resembles a living aurora, with waves of activity flowing across its surface, networks of regions communicating in synchronized patterns, the whole organ pulsing with the rhythms of consciousness itself. Contemporary neuroscience has revealed that the brain is organized not just in distinct regions, but in interconnected networks that span across different areas. The default mode network activates when we're at rest, engaged in introspection or daydreaming. The salience network helps us focus attention on important stimuli. The executive control network manages complex cognitive tasks. These networks communicate with each other in intricate patterns that create the full spectrum of human mental experience. We've discovered that the brain is far more plastic than anyone imagined, capable of rewiring itself throughout life, forming new connections, even growing new neurons in certain regions. Brain mapping has revealed the neural basis of learning, memory, emotion, and consciousness, while simultaneously showing us how much mystery still remains. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of this ongoing journey of discovery is how each new technique, each technological advancement, reveals not just answers, but deeper questions. The more we map the brain's territories, the more we appreciate its complexity, its elegance, and its profound mystery. We are, in essence, using our brains to understand our brains, consciousness, studying consciousness, in an endless, wonderful loop of self-discovery. In the gentle landscape of your body, running from the base of your skull to the small of your back, flows one of evolution's most elegant solutions to the challenge of long-distance communication. Your spinal cord, no wider than your thumb, yet carrying more information than the busiest internet cables, serves as the grand central highway, connecting the universe of your brain to the distant territories of your body. Picture, if you will, this remarkable column of neural tissue as it rests within the protective embrace of your vertebrae, like a precious manuscript kept safe in an ancient library. Your spinal cord floats gently in cerebrospinal fluid, cushioned and nourished, its delicate networks of neurons carrying on conversations that span the full length of your body. This is not merely a passive cable, but a living, intelligent pathway that processes information, makes decisions, and coordinates the complex dance of movement and sensation that allows you to navigate the world. The spinal cord's architecture reveals the beautiful logic of biological engineering. In cross-section, it resembles a butterfly with outstretched wings, the gray matter in the center shaped like an elegant H, surrounded by white matter that gleams like mother of pearl under the microscope. This gray matter, rich with neural cell bodies, serves as the spinal cord's own processing center, while the surrounding white matter carries the long pathways, ascending tracks bearing sensory information upward to the brain, descending tracts carrying motor commands downward to the body. Consider the journey of a simple sensation, perhaps the feeling of sand between your toes as you walk along a beach at twilight. Sensory receptors in your feet detect the texture, pressure, and temperature, converting these physical stimuli into electrical whispers. These signals travel up sensory neurons whose cell bodies rest in small clusters called dorsal root ganglia, like tiny way stations along the neural highway. As these sensory messages enter the spinal cord, they begin their upward journey through carefully organized pathways. Touch and pressure sensations travel along the dorsal column pathway, their signals remaining on the same side of the spinal cord until they reach the brainstem, where they cross over to the opposite side before continuing to the brain. Pain and temperature sensations take a different route, crossing to the opposite side almost immediately upon entering the spinal cord, then ascending through the spinothalamic tract toward consciousness. Meanwhile, in the opposite direction, motor commands flow downward from the brain like a gentle cascade. The decision to take that next step along the beach begins in your motor cortex, where neurons fire in patterns that encode the intended movement. These signals travel down through the corticospinal tract, most crossing to the opposite side at the base of the brain stem before continuing their descent through the spinal cord. But the spinal cord is not merely a passive conduit for these ascending and descending messages. It possesses its own intelligence, its own capacity for decision-making and coordination. The gray matter within contains intricate circuits that can process sensory information and generate motor responses without any involvement from the brain. These are the neural networks that produce spinal reflexes, those lightning-fast responses that protect you from harm. When you accidentally touch something hot, the reflexive withdrawal of your hand happens so quickly that you begin pulling away before you're consciously aware of the pain. This is the spinal cord's wisdom in action. Sensory neurons carrying pain signals make connections directly with motor neurons in the spinal gray matter, creating a protective circuit that bypasses the brain's slower, deliberative processes. Your hand is safely away from danger before your brain has even finished processing what happened. Yet the spinal cord's intelligence extends far beyond simple reflexes. It contains complex neural circuits called central pattern generators that can coordinate rhythmic movements like walking, swimming, or breathing without conscious control from the brain. These spinal networks learned their choreography over millions of years of evolution, encoding the fundamental patterns of movement that allow vertebrates to move with grace and efficiency. During sleep, when consciousness retreats into the realm of dreams, the spinal cord continues its vigilant work. It maintains the basic rhythms of life, the gentle rise and fall of breathing, the steady beating of the heart, the countless adjustments that keep your body functioning optimally, while your brain wanders through landscapes of imagination and memory. Even in sleep, sensory information continues to flow upward, though most of it is filtered out before reaching consciousness, allowing you to rest while remaining alert to truly important signals. The spinal cord also serves as the pathway through which the brain influences the body's autonomic functions. Sympathetic and parasympathetic commands flow down from the brainstem through spinal pathways to reach their target organs, adjusting heart rate, controlling digestion, regulating body temperature. All the countless processes that maintain the delicate balance of life. Perhaps most remarkably, the spinal cord demonstrates a capacity for adaptation and learning that continues to amaze researchers. When injured, it can reorganize its circuits, finding new pathways around damaged areas. Physical therapy and rehabilitation can strengthen these alternative routes, allowing the spinal cord to partially compensate for lost function through neuroplasticity, the same fundamental capacity for change that allows learning throughout the nervous system. There is something profoundly calming about recognizing that within your body flows this river of neural communication, carrying the constant stream of information that connects your conscious mind to every cell, every tissue, every organ in your physical being. The spinal cord serves as both messenger and guardian, ensuring that the distant territories of your body remain in constant conversation with the central government of your brain, maintaining the unity of experience that allows you to feel whole, integrated, and wonderfully alive in the quiet depths of your body's wisdom, working like invisible gardeners, tending to life's most essential rhythms. Dwell the guardians of your autonomic nervous system. These ancient caretakers have been with you since before your first breath, and they will remain with you until your last, maintaining the delicate balance of life with a devotion and precision that borders on the miraculous. There is something deeply comforting about recognizing that you are never truly alone, even in your deepest sleep, even in moments of complete solitude. These neural guardians continue their vigilant work. They orchestrate your heartbeat, regulate your breathing, adjust your blood pressure, manage your digestion, control your body temperature, and coordinate countless other processes that keep the complex ecosystem of your body functioning in perfect harmony. The autonomic nervous system operates like two complementary forces in an eternal dance. The sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, each representing a different aspect of life's essential rhythms. They are not opposing forces in conflict, but rather like two dancers who know each other so intimately that their movements create a perfect choreography of biological balance. The sympathetic nervous system is your body's gentle conductor of readiness and action. When life presents you with challenges, opportunities, or moments requiring energy and alertness, this system responds with elegant efficiency. Picture those moments when you feel most alive and engaged, perhaps watching a beautiful sunset, having an inspiring conversation, or feeling the anticipation before a meaningful event. In these instances, your sympathetic system is quietly at work, increasing your heart rate just enough to deliver optimal oxygen to your brain, sharpening your focus, and preparing your body's resources for full engagement with the moment. This system's origins trace back through millions of years of evolution, when our ancestors needed to respond quickly to both opportunities and dangers in their environment. The sympathetic response, sometimes called fight or flight, evolved not as a system of fear and anxiety, but as a beautiful mechanism for full engagement with life. When activated, it releases gentle cascades of norepinephrine and epinephrine, chemicals that heighten awareness, increase energy availability, and prepare the body for action. Yet in our modern world, we can appreciate the sympathetic system not just for its ability to handle stress, but for its role in all of life's more energetic moments: the flutter of excitement before a first date, the focused alertness during engaging work, the heightened awareness when learning something new. All of these pleasant experiences involve the sympathetic system's contribution to our capacity for enthusiasm and engagement. In beautiful contrast, the parasympathetic nervous system serves as your body's master of restoration and peace. Often called the rest and digest system, it governs those precious moments when your body can turn its attention inward, focusing on growth, healing, and renewal. This system becomes most active during quiet times, during meditation, deep sleep, gentle meals shared with loved ones, or peaceful moments in nature. The parasympathetic system works primarily through the vagus nerve, a wandering pathway that extends from your brainstem down through your body like a gentle river, touching your heart, lungs, stomach, and other organs. When this system is active, your heart rate slows to its most efficient rhythm. Your breathing deepens and becomes more regular. Your digestion operates optimally, and your body's cellular repair mechanisms work most effectively. There is something almost poetic about the way these two systems coordinate their activities throughout the rhythms of your day and night. In the morning, as natural light signals the beginning of a new day, your sympathetic system gradually increases its activity, gently raising your heart rate, increasing your blood pressure slightly, and preparing your body for the day's activities. This is not a harsh awakening, but a gradual transition orchestrated with the precision of a master conductor. Throughout the day, these systems continuously adjust their balance based on your activities and needs. During meals, your parasympathetic system takes precedence, optimizing digestion and nutrient absorption. During exercise or exciting activities, your sympathetic system provides the energy and alertness needed for optimal performance. During rest periods, the parasympathetic system helps your body recover and restore itself. The evening brings perhaps the most beautiful demonstration of autonomic wisdom. As darkness falls and the day's activities wind down, your parasympathetic system gradually assumes greater control. Your heart rate slows, your blood pressure decreases, your body temperature drops slightly, and your breathing becomes deeper and more regular. These changes create the optimal conditions for sleep, allowing your body to enter the profound restoration that happens during the night hours. Even during sleep, these guardians continue their work. Your heart continues beating at its optimal resting rate. Your breathing maintains its gentle rhythm. Your digestive system processes the day's nutrition, and your immune system performs much of its maintenance and repair work. All of this happens without any conscious effort on your part, a gift of biological wisdom that has been refined over millions of years. Perhaps most remarkably, these systems demonstrate an extraordinary capacity for adaptation and learning. They respond to the patterns of your lifestyle, gradually adjusting to optimize your health and well-being. Regular exercise enhances both systems' efficiency. Meditation and relaxation practices strengthen parasympathetic function. Even your thoughts and emotions influence autonomic activity. Feelings of gratitude, love, and peace enhance parasympathetic tone, while chronic worry or stress can overstimulate sympathetic activity. Understanding these gentle guardians can bring a profound sense of appreciation for the wisdom embedded within your own biology. Every breath you take, every beat of your heart represents the activity of these ancient systems, working with tireless dedication to maintain the conditions that make consciousness, creativity, and connection possible. In the quiet sanctuary of your skull, there grows a garden unlike any other in the universe, one that blooms not with flowers and leaves, but with thoughts, memories, and possibilities. This is the garden of neuroplasticity, where the landscape of your mind reshapes itself continuously, like morning clouds drifting across an endless sky, always changing, always becoming something new. For most of human history, scientists believed that the adult brain was fixed, immutable, like a sculpture carved in stone. The prevailing wisdom suggested that after childhood, the neural pathways were set, the connections permanent, the structure unchangeable. Yet this beautiful myth has given way to an even more beautiful truth. Your brain is not a static monument to your past, but a living, breathing ecosystem that grows and adapts throughout your entire life. Picture, if you will, a master gardener tending to an ancient grove. This gardener does not simply maintain what already exists, but continuously plants new seedlings, tends growing saplings, and sometimes clears away old growth to make room for fresh possibilities. Your brain works in much the same way, constantly pruning unused connections while strengthening those that serve you well, creating new neural pathways when life demands new skills or understanding. This neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to reorganize itself, operates through several beautiful mechanisms. At the most fundamental level, individual synapses can become stronger or weaker based on how frequently they're used. When you practice a new skill, whether it's learning a language, playing music, or developing a deeper capacity for compassion, the neural pathways involved in that activity literally grow stronger, like well-traveled paths through a forest, becoming more defined with each passing. But the brain's capacity for change extends far beyond simply strengthening existing connections. Throughout your life, your brain continues to grow new neurons, particularly in regions like the hippocampus, which plays a crucial role in learning and memory formation. This neurogenesis represents one of biology's most hopeful processes, the ongoing birth of new brain cells, each one carrying the potential for new learning, new adaptation, new growth. The brain also demonstrates a remarkable ability to reassign functions from damaged areas to healthy regions. When injury or disease affects one part of the brain, other areas can sometimes learn to take over those functions, like understudies stepping into starring roles in life's great performance. This capacity for functional reorganization has allowed people to recover from strokes, adapt to brain injuries, and maintain cognitive abilities even as some brain regions age or change. Consider the profound implications of this ongoing plasticity. Every book you read, every conversation that moves you, every moment of wonder or learning literally reshapes the physical structure of your brain. The neural networks that encode your memories, skills, and understanding are not fixed recordings of past experiences, but living, evolving patterns that continue to grow and change as you do. This plasticity extends throughout the entire nervous system. Even the spinal cord, long thought to be incapable of regeneration, has shown surprising capacity for adaptation and limited repair. Peripheral nerves can regrow after injury, guided by the same molecular signals that helped build the nervous system during development. The entire nervous system, from brain to spinal cord to the smallest sensory nerve, participates in this ongoing dance of adaptation and renewal. What makes this plasticity even more remarkable is how it responds to your choices and experiences. Physical exercise doesn't just strengthen your muscles, it promotes the growth of new neurons and enhances the brain's capacity for plasticity. Learning new skills, particularly those that challenge you in novel ways, creates new neural pathways and strengthens existing ones. Even your thoughts and emotional states influence plasticity. Practices like meditation, gratitude, and mindfulness have been shown to produce measurable changes in brain structure and function. The social dimensions of neuroplasticity are equally beautiful. Your brain is shaped not just by your individual experiences, but by your relationships and connections with others. The neural networks involved in empathy, social understanding, and emotional regulation are continuously influenced by your interactions with family, friends, and community. In a very real sense, we shape each other's brains through the quality of our presence and attention. Sleep plays a crucial role in this garden of plasticity. During the quiet hours of rest, your brain consolidates the day's learning, strengthening important connections while allowing less useful ones to fade. It's during sleep that much of the brain's reconstruction work happens. Old memories are integrated with new experiences, skills are refined and strengthened, and the neural landscape is subtly reshaped to accommodate new growth. Perhaps most beautifully, neuroplasticity means that change is always possible. No matter your age, no matter what challenges you faced, your brain retains the capacity to adapt, learn, and grow. The neural pathways that encode limiting beliefs or painful patterns are not permanent fixtures. They can be weakened through disuse, while new, more supportive pathways are strengthened through practice and repetition. This understanding transforms how we think about aging, learning, and personal growth, rather than seeing the brain as gradually declining with age. We can appreciate it as an organ that continues to adapt and evolve throughout life. The key lies in providing it with the right conditions for growth, challenge, novelty, physical exercise, social connection, adequate sleep, and the kind of gentle, persistent practice that allows new neural gardens to flourish. As you rest in this moment of quiet learning, take comfort in knowing that this very experience is reshaping your brain in subtle but meaningful ways. The neural networks processing these words, contemplating these ideas, and perhaps feeling a sense of wonder at the brain's remarkable capacity for change. These networks are themselves being strengthened and refined, adding new growth to the magnificent garden of your consciousness. In the gentle twilight between the physical and the experiential, where molecules dance and consciousness blooms, lies one of the most beautiful mysteries of existence, the transformation of simple chemicals into the rich palette of human emotion and experience. Here, in the quiet spaces between neurons, neurotransmitters work their subtle magic, painting your inner world with colors of joy, contentment, alertness, and peace. These molecular messengers are the brain's master artists, each one contributing its unique hue to the masterpiece of consciousness. They float through synaptic spaces like morning mist, carrying the essence of different emotional states, transforming the electrical whispers of neurons into the felt experience of being wonderfully, complexly human. Dopamine, often called the molecule of reward and motivation, is perhaps the brain's most celebrated artist. Picture this neurotransmitter as painting with the warm colors of anticipation and satisfaction. When dopamine levels are balanced and flowing naturally, it creates the gentle glow of curiosity, the quiet satisfaction of accomplishment, the pleasant anticipation of experiences yet to come. It whispers to your consciousness about what matters, what feels worthwhile, what deserves your attention and energy. Yet dopamine's artistry is subtle and sophisticated. It doesn't simply paint pleasure, it paints the expectation of pleasure, the motivation to seek what feels meaningful and rewarding. This neurotransmitter helps create the sense of forward movement in life, the feeling that goals are worth pursuing, that effort will be rewarded, that tomorrow might bring something wonderful. When dopamine systems are functioning harmoniously, they contribute to that gentle sense of engagement with life that makes ordinary moments feel subtly magical. Serotonin works with an entirely different palette, painting with the soft colors of well-being and social connection. This neurotransmitter, produced primarily in specialized neurons scattered throughout the brain, creates the warm background tones of contentment and belonging. When serotonin flows in healthy patterns, it contributes to that quiet sense that all is well, that you are safe and valued, that the world is a place where good things can happen. There is something particularly beautiful about serotonin's role in social bonding and hierarchy. It helps create the neural conditions for healthy relationships, contributing to feelings of confidence without arrogance, assertiveness without aggression, contentment without complacency. Serotonin systems seem to understand something profound about human nature, that we are social beings who thrive when we feel connected, respected, and able to contribute to something larger than ourselves. Acetylcholine paints with the bright, clear colors of attention and learning. This neurotransmitter, one of the first to be discovered, serves as the brain's master of focus and awareness. When acetylcholine systems are active, they create the neural conditions for deep learning, sustained attention, and the kind of present moment awareness that allows you to fully engage with whatever you're experiencing. During moments of intense learning or discovery, perhaps when you suddenly understand a complex concept or feel deeply moved by a piece of music, acetylcholine is helping to paint those experiences with the vivid colors of attention and memory formation. It signals to the brain that this moment is important, worth remembering, worthy of the neural resources required for deep encoding and future recall. GABA, the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, works with the gentle colors of calm and peace. If the brain were an orchestra, GABA would be the conductor's quiet gesture that brings harmony from chaos, creating the spaces between notes that allow music to emerge from noise. GABA doesn't add excitement or energy. Instead, it creates the neural conditions for rest, relaxation, and the kind of inner stillness that allows other neurotransmitter systems to function optimally. When GABA systems are working well, they contribute to that precious sense of inner calm that allows you to sleep deeply, think clearly, and respond to life's challenges with equanimity rather than anxiety. GABA paints with the colors of Sunday morning peace, of quiet confidence, of the deep relaxation that comes after a day well lived. These neurotransmitters don't work in isolation, but rather blend their effects like colors on an artist's palette, creating the infinite variety of human emotional experience. The joy you feel watching a sunset involves multiple neurotransmitter systems working together. Dopamine adding motivation to seek out beautiful experiences, serotonin contributing to the sense of well-being, acetylcholine enhancing your attention to the visual details, and GABA providing the calm receptivity that allows you to fully absorb the moment. Sleep represents perhaps the most beautiful choreography of neurotransmitter activity. As evening approaches, your brain begins shifting its chemical palette toward the colors of rest and restoration. Melatonin, produced by the pineal gland, signals the approach of sleep. Adenosine, building up in your system throughout the day, creates the gentle pressure toward rest. GABA activity increases, creating the neural conditions for the conscious mind to release its grip on waking awareness. During sleep, different neurotransmitters take turns painting the landscapes of dreams. REM sleep involves complex interactions between acetylcholine, which remains surprisingly active during dreams, and the temporary suppression of norepinephrine and serotonin, creating the unique neurochemical conditions that allow the brain to weave memory fragments into the surreal narratives of dreams. The relationship between neurotransmitters and consciousness reveals something profound about the nature of human experience. Our emotions, motivations, and states of awareness are not separate from our biology, but rather emerge from the elegant dance of molecules in the spaces between neurons. Understanding this doesn't diminish the mystery of consciousness. If anything, it adds another layer of the wonder, revealing that the universe has found a way to transform simple chemistry into the infinite complexity of human inner life. In the quiet theaters of sensation that exist throughout your body, a continuous performance unfolds, one where touch becomes electricity, pressure becomes awareness, and the physical world transforms into the rich tapestry of conscious experience. This is where your nervous system reveals itself as both interpreter and artist, translating the mechanical, thermal, and chemical events of the world into the poetry of sensation. Consider, for a moment, the extraordinary complexity hidden within the simple act of feeling. Right now, as you rest in this moment of learning, thousands of sensory receptors scattered throughout your skin are sampling your environment with exquisite precision. Some detect the gentle pressure of clothing against your body, others monitor the temperature of the air, still others respond to the subtle movements of air currents or the texture of whatever surface you're touching. These sensory receptors are like tiny biological instruments, each one specialized to detect specific aspects of the physical world. Mechanoreceptors respond to pressure and vibration, their cellular structures designed to convert mechanical energy into electrical signals. Thermoreceptors monitor temperature changes, some firing more rapidly when they detect warmth, others when they sense cold. Nociceptors serve as the body's warning system, responding to potentially harmful stimuli with signals that the brain interprets as pain. Yet the true artistry begins not with detection, but with interpretation. When you run your fingers across a piece of silk, multiple types of receptors activate in careful coordination. Mechanoreceptors detect the smooth texture. Thermoreceptors register the fabric's temperature, and the brain weaves these separate streams of information into the unified experience of silk. Smooth, cool, pleasant to touch. This integration happens so seamlessly that you experience it not as multiple sensations, but as a single, coherent impression. The journey from sensation to perception follows pathways of extraordinary elegance. Touch sensations from your fingertips travel along peripheral nerves to your spinal cord, then ascend through the dorsal columns to reach your brainstem, where they cross to the opposite side before continuing to the thalamus and finally to the somatosensory cortex. This entire journey takes only milliseconds. Yet along the way, the raw sensory data is continuously processed, filtered, and refined. Pain presents perhaps the most complex chapter in this theater of sensation. Unlike other sensory experiences, pain is not simply a direct translation of sensory input, but rather a sophisticated interpretation that considers context, emotion, attention, and past experience. The same physical stimulus can be experienced as mild discomfort or intense pain, depending on factors like your emotional state, what you expect to feel, and how much attention you're paying to the sensation. The pain system demonstrates remarkable plasticity and intelligence. Gate control mechanisms in your spinal cord can modulate pain signals before they reach your brain. This is why rubbing an injury often provides relief, as the touch signals compete with pain. Signals for neural attention. The brain itself can amplify or dampen pain signals based on circumstances. Soldiers in battle sometimes report feeling no pain from serious injuries until the danger has passed. But sensation extends far beyond touch and pain. Your body contains a hidden universe of interoceptors, sensory receptors that monitor your internal state. These quiet sensors detect blood pressure, heart rate, breathing patterns, the fullness of your stomach, the need for water, countless other aspects of your internal environment. Most of this interoceptive information never reaches consciousness. but it continuously influences your mood, energy level, and sense of well-being. The experience of pleasure reveals another facet of sensory processing's sophistication. Pleasant sensations, the warmth of sunlight, the softness of a comfortable bed, the gentle touch of someone you love, activate not just sensory pathways, but reward circuits involving dopamine and other neurotransmitters. This creates a feedback loop where pleasant sensations are not just detected, but actively sought and appreciated. Temperature sensation demonstrates particularly beautiful complexity. Your skin contains separate receptors for warmth and cold, but the experience of temperature is not simply their sum. When you step into a warm bath, you don't experience separate warm and not cold sensations, but rather the integrated experience of pleasant warmth. The brain continuously compares current temperature to your body's baseline, creating the relative experience of warm or cool. Proprioception, your sense of body position and movement, operates largely below the threshold of consciousness, yet it's essential for every movement you make. Specialized receptors in your muscles, tendons, and joints continuously monitor the position and movement of your body parts, allowing you to walk without looking at your feet, to reach for objects with accuracy, to maintain balance and coordination. This sense is so fundamental that when it's disrupted, the results are immediately obvious. The unsteady gait of someone with proprioceptive problems, the careful attention required to perform normally automatic movements. Perhaps most mysteriously, the nervous system demonstrates a remarkable ability to create sensation where none exists. Phantom limb pain, where amputees feel sensations in missing limbs, reveals that sensory experience is as much about neural patterns as about actual sensory input. The brain's maps of the body can persist even when the body parts they represent are no longer there, creating the haunting experience of sensation without stimulus. The theater of sensation also includes experiences that blur the boundaries between different senses. Synesthesia, where stimulation of one sensory pathway triggers experiences in another, seeing colors when hearing music, or tasting flavors when seeing certain shapes, reveals the interconnected nature of sensory processing. These experiences suggest that the boundaries between different senses are more fluid than we typically imagine, and that consciousness might naturally tend toward integrated, multisensory experiences. As you rest in this moment, take a gentle inventory of the sensations currently available to your awareness. The pressure points where your body contacts surfaces, the temperature of the air against your skin, any sounds reaching your ears, the visual patterns of light and shadow. Each of these experiences represents millions of neural conversations, the ongoing translation of physical energy into conscious awareness, the beautiful transformation of world into experience that happens continuously in the mysterious theater of your nervous system. In the gentle cycle that governs all life on Earth, your nervous system orchestrates perhaps its most beautiful and essential performance, the daily rhythm of sleep and wakefulness that allows consciousness to ebb and flow like tides across the shore of awareness. This ancient dance, refined across millions of years of evolution, represents one of biology's most sophisticated achievements, the ability to coordinate complex internal rhythms with the rotating planet beneath our feet. Your circadian clock resides in a tiny cluster of neurons deep within your brain, in a region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, no larger than a grain of rice. This biological timekeeper contains approximately 20,000 neurons that function as your body's master clockmaker, keeping time with a precision that rivals the finest Swiss chronometer. These cellular timekeepers maintain their rhythm even in complete isolation, demonstrating that the capacity for temporal organization is built into the very fabric of your nervous system. Yet this internal clock does not tick in isolation. Throughout each day, it receives gentle signals from the environment that help keep it synchronized with the external world. Light, detected by specialized cells in your retinas, provides the strongest timing cue, informing your circadian system when day begins and night falls. This is why exposure to morning sunlight feels so energizing and why bright light in the evening can disrupt your natural sleep rhythm. Your nervous system is continuously adjusting its internal clock to match the cosmic rhythm of Earth's rotation. As evening approaches, your circadian system begins its gradual transition towards sleep. The process starts hours before you feel ready for bed, with subtle changes in hormone production, body temperature, and neural activity. Your pineal gland, responding to signals from the circadian clock, begins producing melatonin, a hormone that serves as the body's natural sleep signal. Body temperature starts its gentle decline, and various neural circuits associated with arousal and attention begin to quiet their activity. The transition into sleep is like watching a city gradually dim its lights. Different brain regions don't all fall asleep at once, but rather enter sleep states in a coordinated sequence. The thalamus, which normally relays sensory information to the cortex, begins to close its gates, filtering out much of the external sensory input that would normally reach consciousness. Meanwhile, the brainstem's arousal systems gradually reduce their activity, allowing the waves of sleep to wash over the landscape of awareness. Sleep itself unfolds in distinct stages, each with its own neurochemical signature and purpose. Non-REM sleep progresses through increasingly deep stages, characterized by synchronized neural oscillations that sweep across the brain like slow ocean waves. During these deeper stages, growth hormone is released, memory consolidation occurs, and the brain's glymphatic system, a recently discovered cleaning mechanism, flushes metabolic waste from neural tissue with increased efficiency. REM sleep brings a completely different neurochemical environment. During these periods, acetylcholine levels rise dramatically, while norepinephrine and serotonin are largely suppressed, creating the unique conditions that allow dreams to flourish. The brain becomes almost as active as during waking, but this activity is internally generated rather than driven by external stimuli. Meanwhile, the brainstem sends signals that effectively paralyze the voluntary muscles, preventing the body from acting out the vivid narratives that unfold in dreams. The cyclical nature of sleep stages reveals another layer of the nervous system's temporal sophistication. Throughout the night, you cycle through these different sleep stages approximately every 90 minutes, with the proportion of REM sleep increasing toward morning. This ultradian rhythm, a cycle that repeats multiple times within a 24-hour period, appears to optimize different aspects of sleep's restorative functions. Dreams themselves represent one of consciousness's most mysterious phenomena. During REM sleep, the brain weaves together memory fragments, emotions, and sensory experiences into narratives that often defy logic but carry deep emotional resonance. The neural mechanisms that create dreams reveal the brain's remarkable capacity for creativity and symbolic processing, demonstrating that even in sleep, consciousness continues its work of meaning making and integration. The nervous system's role in sleep regulation extends far beyond the brain. The spinal cord and peripheral nervous system also show cyclical changes in activity that correspond to sleep stages. Autonomic functions like heart rate, breathing, blood pressure, and body temperature all follow carefully orchestrated patterns throughout the night, creating optimal conditions for cellular repair and restoration. Sleep's relationship with memory reveals another facet of its importance. During sleep, particularly during slow wave sleep, the brain consolidates memories from the day, transferring information from temporary storage in the hippocampus to long-term storage in the cortex. This process involves the replay of neural patterns that were active during learning, literally strengthening the synaptic connections that encode important experiences and skills. The circadian system also coordinates sleep-wake cycles with other biological rhythms. Hormone production, immune function, digestion, and even gene expression all follow circadian patterns that are synchronized with your sleep-wake cycle. This integration ensures that sleep occurs when it will be most beneficial, and that waking happens when your body is best prepared for activity and alertness. Modern research has revealed that sleep disturbances can have profound effects throughout the nervous system. Chronic sleep deprivation affects not just alertness and cognitive function, but also immune response, emotional regulation, and even the brain's ability to clear metabolic waste. Conversely, good sleep hygiene, regular sleep schedules, appropriate light exposure, and creating optimal conditions for rest supports optimal nervous system function at every level. As you perhaps prepare for your own journey into sleep after this gentle exploration, take comfort in knowing that your nervous system will continue its wise work throughout the night. While your conscious mind rests, your neural networks will be consolidating the day's learning. Your circadian clock will be preparing for tomorrow's awakening, and the ancient rhythms that have sustained life for millions of years will carry you safely through the peaceful territories of sleep toward the fresh possibilities of a new day. In the gentle landscape of medical compassion, where science meets hope and technology serves healing, some of humanity's most beautiful work unfolds. The patient, persistent effort to repair the broken conversations within the nervous system when illness, injury, or genetic variation disrupts the delicate neural networks that create our experience of life. Modern medicine responds with a combination of scientific rigor and profound empathy that represents the very best of human nature. Consider the quiet courage of someone living with Parkinson's disease as their brain's dopamine-producing neurons gradually cease their chemical conversations. In the substantia nigra, a small but crucial brain region whose name means black substance, these specialized neurons begin to falter, reducing the dopamine signals that normally coordinate smooth, controlled movement. Yet this is not simply a story of loss, but also one of remarkable adaptation and emerging hope. The brain demonstrates extraordinary resilience in the face of such challenges. As dopamine levels decline, remaining neurons often increase their activity, trying to compensate for their lost colleagues. Neural circuits reorganize themselves, seeking alternative pathways to maintain function. This neuroplasticity, the same capacity for change that allows learning throughout life, becomes a powerful ally in the brain's efforts to maintain quality of life despite cellular loss. Modern treatments for Parkinson's represent a beautiful fusion of understanding and intervention. Medications like L-Dopa provide the chemical building blocks that remaining neurons can use to produce more dopamine, temporarily restoring some of the lost chemical conversations. Deep brain stimulation, a technique that seemed like science fiction just decades ago, uses precisely placed electrodes to deliver gentle electrical pulses that can help coordinate neural activity and reduce symptoms. Even more remarkably, researchers are exploring ways to replace lost neurons entirely. Stem cell therapies hold the promise of growing new dopamine neurons that could potentially restore lost function. Gene therapy approaches seek to enhance the survival and function of remaining neurons. These treatments represent a profound shift from simply managing symptoms to actually repairing the underlying neural conversations that have been disrupted. Stroke presents another arena where our understanding of neural healing continues to evolve. When blood flow to part of the brain is interrupted, neurons in the affected area can die within minutes, seemingly creating permanent damage. Yet the story doesn't end with the initial injury. In the days, weeks, and months that follow, the brain demonstrates remarkable capacity for reorganization and recovery. Healthy brain regions adjacent to the damaged area can sometimes learn to take over functions that were lost, like skilled understudies stepping into important roles. Neural pathways that were rarely used can be strengthened and become major routes for information flow. With appropriate rehabilitation, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, these natural healing processes can be enhanced and guided, sometimes leading to recovery that exceeds what seemed possible immediately after the stroke. The treatment of epilepsy reveals another facet of neural healing, one that involves not just repairing damage, but preventing harmful patterns of activity. Epileptic seizures result from abnormal synchronization of neural activity instead of the brain's usual jazz-like improvisation of neural conversation. Seizures create rigid, overwhelming rhythms that disrupt normal function. Modern epilepsy treatments demonstrate remarkable precision and sophistication. Medications can selectively enhance inhibitory neurotransmission, helping to prevent the runaway neural activity that triggers seizures. When medications aren't sufficient, surgical techniques can remove small areas of damaged brain tissue that serve as seizure triggers, often without affecting normal function. Responsive neurostimulation devices can detect the early signs of seizure activity and deliver precisely timed electrical stimulation to prevent seizures from developing. Mental health conditions reveal perhaps the most complex landscape of neural healing, where the boundaries between brain, mind, and spirit often blur in ways that challenge our understanding. Depression, anxiety, and other conditions involve subtle disruptions in neural networks that process emotion, motivation, and social connection. These disruptions are real and measurable, yet they also interact with life experiences, social circumstances, and personal meaning in ways that require holistic approaches to healing. The development of antidepressant medications has helped millions of people by restoring balance to neurotransmitter systems, particularly those involving serotonin norepinephrine, and dopamine. Yet healing often requires more than chemical intervention. Psychotherapy can literally change brain structure and function, strengthening neural networks involved in emotional regulation and self-understanding. The combination of medication and therapy often proves more effective than either approach alone, suggesting that neural healing benefits from addressing both biological and experiential dimensions of mental health. Perhaps most inspiring are the emerging therapies that harness the nervous system's own capacity for healing. Transcranial magnetic stimulation uses magnetic fields to gently stimulate specific brain regions, potentially helping to restore normal patterns of neural activity in depression and other conditions. Mindfulness-based therapies teach people to work with their own neural patterns, using the brain's capacity for attention and awareness as tools for healing. Neurofeedback allows people to observe their own brain activity in real time and learn to influence it consciously. This approach represents a profound shift toward collaborative healing, where patients become active participants in their own neural rehabilitation rather than passive recipients of treatment. The field of neurorehabilitation continues to reveal new possibilities for recovery and adaptation. Virtual reality environments allow stroke patients to practice movements in safe, controlled settings while their brains rebuild damaged networks. Robotic assistive devices can help people with spinal cord injuries regain independence while potentially promoting neural recovery. Brain-computer interfaces are beginning to allow people with paralysis to control external devices directly with their thoughts. Yet perhaps the most important aspect of neural healing is often the most subtle: the restoration of hope, connection, and meaning that allows people to thrive despite neurological challenges. The nervous system exists not in isolation, but as part of a whole person embedded in relationships, communities, and sources of purpose. Healing often involves not just repairing damaged neural circuits, but helping people discover new ways to experience connection, contribution, and joy. As we witness these ongoing advances in neural healing, we're reminded that the story of neurological illness is never just about broken circuits or lost functions. It's also about human resilience, scientific creativity, and the profound commitment of researchers, clinicians, and patients working together to restore the beautiful conversations that make consciousness, movement, and connection possible. In the quiet laboratories where neuroscience meets engineering, where biology converses with silicon, a profound conversation is beginning to unfold, one that may represent the most intimate collaboration ever attempted between human consciousness and digital intelligence. Brain-computer interfaces, those delicate bridges between neural activity and electronic systems, are teaching us to translate the ancient language of thought into the binary poetry of computers. Picture, if you will, the exquisite challenge that faces researchers in this field. The human brain speaks in a language evolved over hundreds of millions of years. The subtle dance of electrochemical signals, the complex rhythms of neural oscillations, the intricate patterns of activity that somehow give rise to thoughts, intentions, and emotions. Computers, in contrast, operate in the precise digital language of ones and zeros, executing instructions with perfect reliability, but lacking the organic fluidity of biological systems. The first tentative words in this cross-species conversation began decades ago, when researchers discovered they could detect and interpret simple neural signals. By placing electrodes near motor neurons in the brain, they found they could identify the electrical signatures associated with intended movements, the neural whispers that normally travel from cortex to muscle, commanding the body to reach, grasp, or step. These early brain-computer interfaces were like primitive translation devices capable of converting basic motor intentions into computer commands. A person thinking about moving their hand could control a cursor on a screen. Someone imagining walking could direct a robotic device to take steps. The technology was crude by today's standards, but it represented a fundamental breakthrough, the first successful attempt to eavesdrop on the brain's internal conversations and translate them into action. As the technology has evolved, these neural interpreters have become increasingly sophisticated. Modern brain-computer interfaces can decode complex intentions with remarkable accuracy. Electrodes placed in the motor cortex can interpret not just the intention to move, but the intended direction, speed, and force of movement. Some systems can even decode the neural patterns associated with imagined speech, potentially allowing people to communicate simply by thinking words. The applications of this technology read like science fiction made real. People with spinal cord injuries, whose brains can plan movements but cannot send signals to their muscles, have learned to control robotic arms with thoughts alone. These prosthetic limbs, guided by neural signals, can perform increasingly complex tasks, reaching for objects, grasping with appropriate force, even providing some sensory feedback to the user's brain. Perhaps even more remarkable are the brain-computer interfaces that allow direct communication. Researchers have developed systems that can decode imagined speech with enough accuracy to allow someone to type words simply by thinking them. Other systems can interpret the neural signatures of intended letters or words, allowing people with severe communication impairments to express themselves through thought alone. The sensory applications of brain-computer interfaces offer another glimpse into this emerging future. Cochlear implants, among the most successful neural prostheses, bypass damaged parts of the ear and deliver electrical signals directly to the auditory nerve, allowing many deaf people to perceive sound. Retinal implants are beginning to offer similar possibilities for vision, providing crude but meaningful visual information to people with certain forms of blindness. These devices work by translating external stimuli, sound waves, light patterns, into the electrical signals that the nervous system can understand. In essence, they create new sensory pathways, demonstrating the nervous system's remarkable capacity to adapt to novel forms of input. The brain, with its extraordinary plasticity, learns to interpret these artificial signals, gradually developing the ability to extract meaning from what initially seems like random electrical noise. Yet the most profound implications of brain-computer interfaces may lie not in what they can do today, but in what they reveal about the nature of consciousness itself. By successfully translating neural activity into digital commands, these systems demonstrate that thoughts and intentions have measurable physical correlates, patterns of electrical activity that can be detected, analyzed, and interpreted. This technological mirror of thought is also teaching us about the brain's remarkable efficiency and complexity. Even the most advanced computer systems struggle to match the brain's ability to process information make decisions, and generate creative responses. A human brain, operating on about 20 watts of power, less than a bright light bulb, can perform cognitive tasks that require massive computing resources when attempted artificially. The development of brain-computer interfaces also raises profound questions about the boundaries of self and technology. As these systems become more sophisticated and integrated with daily life, they may begin to feel less like external tools and more like extensions of the nervous system itself. Some researchers envision a future where brain-computer interfaces enhance normal human capabilities rather than simply replacing lost functions, potentially allowing direct access to digital information, enhanced memory, or accelerated learning. These possibilities bring both excitement and thoughtful consideration. The same technologies that could help treat neurological conditions might also raise questions about human identity, privacy, and the nature of authentic experience. If thoughts can be decoded and translated into digital form, what does this mean for mental privacy? If artificial systems can enhance cognitive abilities, how do we maintain connection to our natural human capacities? Yet these considerations exist within a larger context of hope and possibility. For people living with paralysis, communication disorders, or sensory impairments, brain-computer interfaces represent pathways to greater independence, expression, and connection. The technology serves not to replace human capabilities, but to restore them, to create new possibilities for participation in life's experiences. The collaborative nature of this research is particularly beautiful. Success requires partnerships between neuroscientists and engineers, between researchers and patients, between those who understand the brain's biology and those who can create the technologies to interface with it. The people who use these systems are not merely subjects of research, but active collaborators whose experiences and insights drive continued development and refinement. As brain-computer interfaces continue to evolve, they may teach us as much about consciousness as they do about technology. By creating these digital mirrors of thought, we may gain new insights into how the brain generates experience, how intentions arise from neural activity, and how consciousness itself emerges from the complex dance of neural communication that unfolds continuously in the quiet sanctuary of the skull. In the gentle hours between knowing and not knowing, where the light of scientific understanding meets the vast darkness of mystery, the nervous system reveals perhaps its most profound truth, that even as we unravel many of its secrets, it continues to whisper questions that humble the deepest human inquiry. These are not failures of science, but invitations to wonder, reminders that consciousness itself may be the universe's greatest puzzle, hiding in plain sight within the familiar experience of simply being you. Consider the most fundamental mystery of all. How does consciousness arise from the billions of neural conversations happening within your skull right now? Scientists can map brain regions, trace neural pathways, and measure the electrical activity that correlates with different mental states. Yet, the transformation of neural firing patterns into subjective experience remains one of the deepest enigmas in all of science. This is often called the hard problem of consciousness, not just explaining how the brain processes information or generates responses to stimuli, but accounting for why there is something it feels like to be you. Why does the neural activity associated with seeing a red rose create not just behavioral responses or memory formation, but the actual qualitative experience of redness, the felt sense of beauty, the emergence of meaning from mere molecular activity. Each moment of your awareness represents this mystery in action. Right now, as you process these words, billions of neurons are firing in complex patterns. Neurotransmitters are flowing across synaptic gaps, and electrical signals are cascading through neural networks. Yet somehow, from this purely physical activity emerges the inner world of your experience, the sense that you are reading, understanding, perhaps feeling curious or contemplative about these ideas. Memory presents another layer of mystery that continues to whisper in the darkness beyond our current understanding. We know that memories are encoded in patterns of synaptic connections, that the hippocampus plays a crucial role in memory formation, that different brain regions store different aspects of our experiences. Yet, the actual mechanism by which neural patterns give rise to the vivid, subjective experience of remembering remains largely unknown. How does a particular pattern of neural activity recreate not just the facts of a past experience, but its emotional color, its sensory richness, its personal meaning? Why do some memories fade while others remain vivid for decades? How does the brain distinguish between remembering and imagining, between experiences that actually happened and those that feel real but never occurred? The mystery deepens when we consider how memories change each time we access them. Far from being fixed recordings, memories appear to be reconstructed each time we remember, potentially altered by our current state of mind, our recent experiences, and the context in which we're remembering. This dynamic nature of memory suggests that our sense of having a continuous, coherent personal history may itself be a kind of ongoing creative act performed by the brain. Dreams offer perhaps the most accessible daily encounter with consciousness's mysteries. Every night, as your brain enters REM sleep, it creates vivid, often bizarre experiences that can feel completely real while you're dreaming. The neural mechanisms that generate dreams are increasingly well understood. The interplay of acetylcholine, the suppression of norepinephrine and serotonin, the activation of visual and emotional brain regions, while logic centers remain relatively quiet. Yet understanding the neural correlates of dreaming doesn't explain why dreams feel so meaningful, why they often carry emotional significance that persists after waking, or how the brain weaves disconnected memory fragments into coherent, if surreal, narratives. Dreams suggest that consciousness has a creative, storytelling dimension that goes far beyond simple information processing. Our capacity to generate meaning and significance, even from random neural activity. The question of free will represents another mystery that neuroscience has illuminated without fully resolving. Brain imaging studies have shown that decisions can sometimes be predicted from neural activity several seconds before people report being aware of their intention to act. This suggests that what we experience as conscious decision-making might be the brain's after-the-fact narrative about processes that began unconsciously. Yet, this raises profound questions about responsibility, choice, and the nature of the self. If our decisions emerge from unconscious neural processes, what does this mean for our sense of agency and control over our lives? The mystery isn't just technical, but deeply personal. It touches on fundamental questions about what it means to be human, to choose, to take responsibility for our actions. The social dimensions of consciousness present yet another realm of mystery. How does the neural activity in one brain create the experience of connecting with, understanding, and caring about other minds? The discovery of mirror neurons, neurons that fire both when performing an action and when observing others perform the same action, has provided insights into how we might understand others' experiences. Yet the full mechanism by which empathy and social connection arise remains unknown. Even the most basic aspects of perception continue to hold mysteries. How does the brain integrate information from different senses to create unified perceptual experiences? Why do we experience a stable, coherent world, despite the fact that our sensory organs are constantly moving and our neural processing is full of gaps and discontinuities? How does the brain distinguish between self-generated sensations and those caused by external events? The nervous system's capacity for change and adaptation, neuroplasticity, while well documented, also raises profound questions. How does the brain decide which connections to strengthen and which to prune? What guides the reorganization that occurs after injury or during learning? Why do some people show remarkable recovery after brain damage while others do not? Perhaps most mysteriously, consciousness itself seems to have a peculiar relationship with time. Our sense of existing in a continuous present moment, of having a past that flows into a future, appears to be constructed by the brain rather than simply reflecting the physical nature of time. Yet how this construction works, how the brain creates the experience of temporal continuity from discrete neural events, remains largely unknown. These mysteries are not obstacles to understanding, but invitations to deeper wonder. Each question that neuroscience answers seems to reveal new layers of complexity, new depths of mystery. The more we learn about the brain, the more remarkable it becomes that consciousness exists at all, that the universe has found a way to know itself, to experience beauty, to create meaning from matter. In the quiet spaces between what we know and what remains unknown, we find perhaps the most beautiful truth of all, that consciousness, this capacity for experience that allows you to read these words and contemplate these ideas, remains one of the universe's greatest gifts and deepest mysteries. The very fact that you can wonder about your own wondering, that you can be conscious of your own consciousness, represents something so extraordinary that we are still learning how to ask the right questions about it. As we drift toward the close of this gentle journey through the landscapes of consciousness, there emerges a truth so beautiful and profound that it seems to shimmer at the very edge of understanding, that your nervous system is not merely a biological mechanism contained within the boundaries of your body, but rather a cosmic phenomenon, a way that the universe has learned to experience itself, to know itself, to wonder about its own existence in the vast tapestry of cosmic evolution stretching back nearly 14 billion years to the first moments after the Big Bang. Your nervous system represents one of the most extraordinary emergent properties of matter, organizing itself into ever more complex and beautiful forms. The carbon atoms in your neurons were forged in the hearts of ancient stars. The oxygen that enables their function was created in stellar explosions that scattered the elements of life across the cosmos, and the patterns of electrical activity that create your thoughts are expressions of the same fundamental forces that govern the behavior of galaxies. Consider the remarkable journey that led to this moment of awareness. In the beginning, there was only hydrogen and helium, the simplest elements, floating in the cold darkness of space. Gravity gathered this primordial matter into the first stars, where nuclear fusion created the heavier elements: carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, that would eventually become the building blocks of life. When these stars reached the end of their lives, they exploded in supernovas that seeded the cosmos with the complex chemistry that makes consciousness possible. From this stellar alchemy emerged planets, and on at least one of them, our small blue world, conditions aligned in just the right way for simple molecules to begin the extraordinary dance of self-organization that we call life. Single cells learned to capture energy, to reproduce, to evolve over billions of years. These simple beginnings gave rise to increasingly complex forms, eventually developing the capacity for movement, sensation, and finally, consciousness itself. Your nervous system carries within it the memory of this entire cosmic story. The same physical laws that govern the formation of galaxies also govern the flow of ions across neural membranes. The same quantum mechanical principles that determine how atoms bond together also influence how neurotransmitters interact with their receptors. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are the cosmos becoming aware of itself. This perspective transforms how we might understand even the most ordinary moments of consciousness. When you watch a sunset, photons that began their journey in the nuclear furnace of the sun travel 93 million miles through space to reach the light-sensitive molecules in your retina. These photons, carrying the electromagnetic signature of our star, trigger cascades of neural activity that travel through your visual system to create the experience of beauty, wonder, and connection to something larger than yourself. In a very real sense, this is the sun seeing itself through your eyes, the universe experiencing its own beauty through the consciousness that has emerged from its own substance. The same elements that burn in stellar cores also flow through your neural networks, creating thoughts that can contemplate the very stars from which they came. The mathematical patterns that describe the structure of your neural networks echo the patterns found throughout the cosmos, in the eaves, branching structures of river deltas, in the filamentary architecture of galaxy clusters, in the fractal geometries of cloud formations. The universe seems to have a tendency towards certain organizational principles, and your nervous system expresses these cosmic patterns in the realm of consciousness and experience. This cosmic perspective also illuminates the profound interconnectedness of all conscious beings. Every human brain that has ever existed has been built from the same stellar elements, governed by the same physical laws, shaped by the same evolutionary forces that have been at work for billions of years. The differences between individual minds are like variations on a cosmic theme, each unique and precious, yet all expressions of the same fundamental phenomenon of matter becoming aware of itself. The capacity for empathy and connection that your nervous system enables takes on deeper meaning when viewed from this cosmic perspective. When you feel compassion for another being, when you share in someone's joy or suffer with their pain, you are participating in a form of cosmic self-recognition, one part of the universe acknowledging and caring for another part of itself. Your ability to learn, to grow, to change your patterns of thought and behavior throughout your life reflects the same creative principle that has driven cosmic evolution from the Big Bang to the present moment. The neuroplasticity that allows your brain to adapt and reorganize is an expression of the same fundamental creativity that has given rise to galaxies, stars, planets, and life itself. Even your dreams and imagination participate in this cosmic creativity. When you envision possibilities that don't yet exist, when you create art or music or poetry, when you solve problems or imagine better ways of living, you are continuing the universe's 14 billion year project of creating new forms, new patterns, new ways of organizing matter and energy into ever more beautiful and complex expressions. The questions that emerge from consciousness: why do we exist? What is the meaning of life? How should we treat one another? Are not merely human concerns, but cosmic questions arising from the universe's growing awareness of itself. Through your capacity for wonder, reflection, and a moral reasoning, the cosmos is examining its own nature, considering its own possibilities, perhaps even participating in its own continued evolution. As we reach the gentle conclusion of this exploration, take a moment to appreciate the profound privilege of conscious existence in all the vast darkness of space. Across all the eons of cosmic time, consciousness appears to be extraordinarily rare and precious. The fact that you can experience beauty, feel love, contemplate meaning, and wonder about your place in the cosmos represents something so unlikely and magnificent that it borders on the miraculous. Your nervous system, with its 86 billion neurons and trillions of connections, represents the universe's most sophisticated known method of knowing itself. Through your senses, the cosmos experiences texture, temperature, color, and sound. Through your emotions, it feels joy, love, sadness, and wonder. Through your thoughts, it contemplates its own nature and possibilities. In the quiet moments of your daily life, watching clouds drift across the sky, feeling gratitude for simple pleasures, experiencing the peace of a calm evening, you're not just a person having experiences, but the universe itself having experiences through you. Your consciousness is a window through which the cosmos looks back at itself with wonder, appreciation, and perhaps a kind of cosmic love. And in this recognition, we find perhaps the most beautiful truth of all: that consciousness, life, and love are not accidents in an indifferent universe, but expressions of its deepest nature. The same creative force that brings stars to life in stellar nurseries also brings thoughts to life in the gentle sanctuary of your mind. The same patterns that organize galaxies into beautiful spiral structures also organize your neural networks into the patterns that create understanding, compassion, and joy. You are not just in the universe. You are the universe, expressing itself in the form of human consciousness, participating in the cosmic story of matter and energy, learning to love, to create, to wonder, and to dream. In this moment of quiet contemplation, as these words create patterns of meaning in your consciousness, The cosmos is knowing itself and finding itself beautiful.